Yo, ¿cómo están? It's Wild on Twos, and thank you for joining us to the Neutral Zone with Hollywood from Insane Throttle, and we have special guest, Biker Bushcraft. That's it. I'm done for the show because Hollywood already said he told me to leave, and they can talk, and I'm just gonna shut up.
I gotta say, man, Biker Bushcraft is one of my favorite channels. I binge watch his videos and stuff.
Yeah, I was watching his channels when you told me. I watched a bunch of his videos, and I sat there watching it. Then Jess was like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Don't fucking tell me we're going to start going camping." She'll do it too, but she thought I was already planning for this weekend. I was like, no. I like researching shit a lot, man. And then, so it was really cool to have you on here, and that's why I really had the pleasure of making that thumbnail. I really did. Let me get Danny D-Lows on here. There we go. Booyah.
So yeah, man, I really do. I sit there and watch because you do your cinematography so great. You teach even more. There's some stuff that I didn't know how to do. I was like, damn, man, now I know how to do some shit like that. So big props to you, Bushcraft.
Well, thanks, man. I got to tell you, I'm honored to be on here, man. You guys, I watch all your channels, and Hollywood, I've binge watched yours too, man. I and most of the people I know really appreciate the biker news that you put out. So it's a pleasure to be on here.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, my channel, it was kind of an accident that I started it. It just, I was doing what I do, and camped with a couple of guys that, knew similar stuff. And we were talking to some of the rest of the guys we knew, and, they didn't want to get out of the city. They don't want to get their bike off the road and all the usual excuses. It's like, it ain't that big a deal. Here, let me show you. So, I made a video, and a few people liked it, and I made a few more. And so that's where I'm at.
Nice. But, well, we're honored to have you here.
No, that's awesome to have you. I mean, Danny has his own only fan page for toes and stuff. And
this motherfucker. I swear to God. You know what? Between you and your wife, you know how much crap I get on YouTube over you? Both of you?
Well, here's what I, can say is I'm usually always talking about the Vietnam Air generation of biker. And every time I get an old graybeard on the show, it's like, your pecker gets hard because you know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's one of those things you just sit back, shut up, listen.
Hey, Hollywood, I don't think your pecker is supposed to get hard when a guy is on the screen. I'm just
It happens, man. It happens. I have no control of it. It gets hard.
I'm so sorry, China Doll. Poor girl.
Bro, it's called motorcycle porn. What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Hey, you know what though? I make fun of him, but I was just telling him that I really wanted to have somebody on our show one of these days. And when I ran into this guy, it was the same thing. I was in awe, and it's before I even knew who Panhead Billy was. I had never heard of him. I've never read about him. I had no idea about him, and I ran into him at Walmart, and I just saw an old graybeard bent over his bike, messing with this old Panhead, and you could tell he'd been on the road for a minute, and I walked over to him and I said, "Hey man, y'all good? You need some tools? You need anything?" And he was like, "No, man, I'm good, man." And we started talking, and I could tell he was kind of low on funds and stuff by the way he was talking. I threw him $100 bill. I said, "Here you go, man. Get you down the road." And then he started telling me who he was, and then I looked him up afterwards, and I was like, "Wow, I just met one of the gods, and I had no idea." So I get it, dude. I was like, "Dude, this guy's traveling on the road." He was coming back from. I want to say like Colorado, I believe, and he was on his way up to the Harley anniversary in Milwaukee.
Right.
And I was just like, "You rode all that on this hardtail Panhead?" And he's like, "I've been riding this before you were born, And I forget, it was like 1960 something. He started riding, and just never went back home. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wow. I was like, you are my lord.
Well, you know what? That's what I get from the older guys like Bushcraft. is look what he's doing on his channel right now. This is stuff that the generation younger than me would have no idea about. What he is doing is the way it was fun back in the day. They knew how to have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've never checked out your channel, but I will after this. I promise you that.
I hope so. And
I definitely will.
yeah,
Bushcraft,
so
I was going
I
to
gotta,
ask you quickly.
yeah, go ahead.
Also, give your channel name out to people out there so they know where to find you. Go subscribe to his channel, Biker Bushcraft. Just give us a little rundown about your channel. What days or when are you going to start posting again? I know we had the conversation how you did stuff a while back and you're getting back into it. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, Graybeard asked in the comments there, and man, I'll tell you right now, the last few years have been challenging. Life got in the way, health got in the way. Since I went down in 2018, that had some long lingering effects that kind of, and professionally, personally, as well as health, that slowed me down. But this is kind of my re-entry into making videos. This right here, this live stream is the beginning of it. I can't promise you guys it's going to be, weekly like it was, but it's going to happen, and it's going to happen very soon here. And I'm going to try and get something out on a fairly regular basis, get out there and do some more videos. And,
we'll take once a month, Bushcraft.
Hey, and that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. But I'll tell you, my channel, and yeah, the channel's just Biker Bushcraft. I got a website, but it's
not a trick question. I was like,
yeah, and I do have a website, but the website, it's bikerbushcraft.com. There's nothing there. I'm not a web designer. I tried. So back in 2018, when I went down, I was actually just about to try and open a retail store to sell some of the equipment that I use and things like that. And I went down the week before I opened it. So everything kind of went away. But I'm here, I'm still riding, I'm still camping, and I'm going to be making videos. This is my commitment to everybody that's out there listening tonight. So
we'll be pushing too. You got that right.
Yeah,
so do you take all those books behind you with? I mean, I love the smell of old books, but I don't really read much.
I've got a pretty extensive library. I read a lot, but that's the thing. I get out there and in between setting up camp and doing nothing, I'll sit down and read. It's just something I like to do, and on everything.
Now, do you when you get ready for a trip, do you look for a destination you want to go to, or do you just go and end up wherever?
It kind of depends. For most of my videos, I do kind of keep those local because, you guys know putting on YouTube videos is kind of a production, and you got to have everything fresh to edit it right. So I just kind of ride out and look for a good place to set up a tent and camp, and so that sometimes leads me off into the woods, into the BLM land. Sometimes it's just looking for a place right off the road where I can kind of hide out. And the last few months, well, the last few years, really, we've had the fire restrictions. You couldn't have fires. And I was trying to get out there to show some tricks so you can actually get some hot food and actually camp out without having a campfire. And there's some ways to do that. So that's something that's up and coming at some point, because I think the fire bans are going to be with us for a long time. But anyway, getting back to what you said, I just kind of go and look for whatever place it is. And if I'm going somewhere, I generally am camping along the way. If I've got the time to do it, if I had the luxury of time, I'm not on a schedule, then I'm not going to stay in a hotel. Nice. We went out some years back to Missouri for a camp out with about 10 other people coming in from different states. And that was that was kind of, because a lot of people comment on the fact that I'm gear heavy. And when I talk about the gear that I have, I show it. It's not that I bring all this stuff every time I go, but it's like this is all the gear that I use at various times to make sure that I've got what I need and I can be comfortable, have a nice camp. So when we went out to Missouri, I had a lot of my old stuff and, strapped a duffel bag onto the back of the tour pack. And me and the old lady went. We get out there and had a great few days camping out there. And the first morning comes and we're setting up to cook breakfast, and man, I got the cast iron pan out, I got the stove out, I got all the utensils out. We're flipping pancakes. Actually, the old lady's flipping pancakes as fast as she can and making coffee. So everybody's
you camp.
Yeah,
He really can't. He doesn't.
He camps.
He's not glamping.
Yeah, like glamping, only a little rougher.
Crazy Horse says, Bushcraft, this is so cool to see y'all doing this. Biker Bushcraft has awesome vids. Your fans are coming over.
I see that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
welcome.
A lot of people don't know that there's BLM land, and that's the Bureau of Land Management land out there.
Right.
And anybody you can basically live there your whole life and just move it. What is it, every 2 weeks or something? At least a little movement.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's not much.
So you're out in like New Mexico area, right?
No, I'm in California.
No, California.
No kidding.
Yeah, BLM land is everywhere.
Really? Yeah. I've always heard of that in New Mexico area. I know that.
Oh, I mean, Utah. I used to go to Utah, Colorado, everywhere. There's BLM.
Yeah, it's really cool if you're along the way and you know where the BLM areas are. If you're going near one, that's where you camp.
Yeah.
I don't like paying for campgrounds. I go to closed campgrounds. Right. We were coming back across the country on one trip, and I can't remember which state it was in. It was somewhere Midwest, Kansas or Missouri, something like that. And we saw the sign for a campground. So we pull into a gas station and we asked, where do you check in for it? And the gas station folks there says, we own it and we bought it, but we haven't done anything with it yet. So, the grass is like 3 feet tall and the bathrooms ain't clean. But if you want to go sleep there, you can. And we had a great night.
Yeah. No, it's that's what I used to say all the time in BLM land, and it's like what I tell people. There's so much you can I lived out there. I was there for I was there for 2 weeks, just camping out there, and that's when I started learning the rules about moving. And I thought
he said he's coming back, Matt. He's going to be putting some more videos out shortly.
I will. Yeah. Matt, I know Matt. He's part of a little group of creators that we had going some years back. Great to see you on, Matt. And yeah, that's awesome. There will be more.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I mean, what will be a good way to point people? Because I know now with technology, not when you're doing it, obviously, not to say you're too old or anything, but I'm saying now there's all this BLM app lands that people can already, while you're traveling, you can map things out, your whole route where you can stay and sleep. But what would you recommend to someone that has never done it before and has been intrigued, like what to see, what to read, watch, or something to learn, or what to do to go already kind of just start maybe trying it out?
Yeah, great question. So there's a few things there. BLM land, you can find maps for that online. You just go search for, Bureau of Land Management. It'll show you where the land is, and look at that according to whatever route you're going to take. If you're going to ride up to Colorado from California, if you're going to ride over to New Mexico from Florida, whatever it is, look for anything that's along the way, plan it. And then I always tell people I use paper maps. I do have GPS, absolutely use nav, but I also have paper maps. And I can sit there if I lose the GPS, it's nothing but a thing. And there's things in the paper maps. You can sit there on a paper map and draw a circle around where that BLM land is, so you know where it is you want to stop. The other thing is there's a lot of websites out there that you can find campgrounds that are free, and so you got to look for them. It just takes an internet search, and it's great. We've got the access to information that we never had before. But being able to just get on in advance and look for things like that, look for sites, and, just search like free camping, things like that. We had we were coming across one time. We stopped in Indiana, along Blue River. There's a campground down there, and it was nice. It was supposed to be a paid campground, and we put a check in there once, which never did get cashed. But we stayed there for 3 or 4 days, swam in the river, just had a great time. Nobody bothered us. Nobody caused any problems. We didn't have security coming through trying to collect money or nothing. So they're out there. You just got to do some searching.
You,
Right.
as an old truck driver, and you just brought it up, everybody's dependent on GPS now, and they wouldn't even know how to read a map. But how on your travels, like you mentioned, it's important to know how to read one of them maps in case your GPS goes out.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's still free maps. You go to AAA, they'll give you maps for everywhere you want to go. I actually collect maps. I've got maps that are going back to the 70s. Road Atlas is going back into the 70s that have highways that don't exist anymore. But when I was a kid, it was kind of a fascination. I'd take the Road Atlas and I'd plot out routes to all the places I wanted to go. And, I grew up moving around a lot. And so the road's in my blood, but it was just something to pass the time. It's like looking through the Christmas catalog, the Sears catalog at Christmas time when you're a kid. Yeah.
What do you decide to bring with you on a particular trip?
That depends, of course, where I'm going, what I'm doing, how long. So, if it's me and the old lady, obviously I need more gear. I need, the bigger frying pan. I always carry my cast iron frying pan. If there's going to be fire, there's going to be cast iron. But, it's if I'm packing for a trip and I'm planning it, I bring whatever I need to be comfortable based on where I'm going. But there's a lot of times, and going back in the day, you kind of brought whatever was always on the bike. And so, the first chopper that I had, I bought when I was 17. It was old BSA Lightning, hardtail, girder front end, 6 bends, coffin tank. I took the coffin tank and put a Mustang and apes on it instead of the 6 bends and built it. But that one, I always had my tools rolled up in a 5x7 oilskin. And my knife was pretty much all I had on the bike all the time. And, if I found myself somewhere with just that, I was still fine. And I mean, we're talking urban bushcraft too, because it's like, where do you eat? If you're in town, go look for the St. Anthony's or, the food kitchen, you get a meal there. And, if you need water, go to the gas station. They'll usually let you fill it from the spigot. Just fill a water jug or a milk jug back then, or canteen if you got it. The basics that you need. Go spend, $5 and get yourself some cans of chili or some cans of beans or whatever. And that was back in the day. That's what we did. I mean, you got what you needed wherever you needed to get it, and you worked with whatever you had. And that to me, that's the biggest part of my channel too. And I don't always succeed in getting that across, but what I try to get across is don't worry about what you're going to pack. Worry about what you got. If you got a chair, sit in a chair, but if you don't get a chair, sit on a log. It's, just use what you got and figure out how to do that efficiently and effectively. And, always have, something sharp, a knife, an axe, some way to make fire, and you'd be fine.
I was gonna say, Shane. He said the Blue River is a great place. Did you jump off the bridge?
We did not. We weren't by the bridge. So, for reference, let's see. There was a Walmart like a couple miles down the road, and we came from the Walmart west, and the campground was on, I think, the left side. And it was 10 years ago, so I'm trying to remember exactly, but it was something like that.
Yeah, Danny Dilo and I are going to do bushcrafting all the way to Iowa in July. We're going to videotape, or he's going to go from where he's at. I'm going to come up. We're going to meet. We're going to video it live, right, Danny?
I'm down with it.
I'll try it.
I like it.
As long as you know my kind of camping is I'm renting a very nice, elegant hotel. And I'm not getting chili. I'm going to a friggin' steakhouse or a taco place.
For you.
You know, I'm not going to lie. So I thought I was old school until Bushwick just ruined all my friggin' dreams over here. Yeah. I'm realizing I'm the new school guy. Yeah. I got old school beliefs. I swear to God, Bushcraft. I swear, but.
And then there's a place for you, Danny, called Under Canvas. It's like glamping, already tents with beds inside of it for you.
What's you call it, glamping?
Bushcraft, do you use?
I thought I was camping because like I got a tent and I got a blow up bed, and I put the blow up bed in there, and I take it with the bike. You know, it's a single man thing. I thought that was camping, but this guy just shut me right up.
Do you do you use a tent bushcraft, or are you using tarps when you know? I bet that was the old days with the tarps.
Yeah, tarps. You know, it back in the day, I didn't have enough money for a tent, and you know, I come from the day when bikers didn't have money. You know, bikers weren't going out and spending $40,000-$50,000 on a bike.
Right.
You know, you bought a basket case for $1,000-$1,500. And back earlier than that, a few $100s, and you put it together with whatever you could. You made parts not because they didn't make the part you needed. It's because you couldn't afford to go to the dealership and buy shit.
Yeah.
And you know, so you make stuff. You just do what you got to do. And so coming from that, you know, somebody gave me that 5x7 tarp. I had that thing for probably 15 years. That was it. Yeah. I either slept under it or on top of it, depending on the weather. But, you know, it got used for everything from a ground cloth to cover to, you know, something to lay down on to work on the bike on the side of the road.
Right. That's actually how I started too, actually, even though, you know, I could have went out and bought a new bike or whatever. That's how I started my biker life. Is I bought a basket case. I bought an 82 FLT. Right. I paid $1,000 for it, and I put it together, and I built it in my garage over one weekend. I put the whole bike together, and then I needed a clutch cable, so I had to wait a week, and I got my clutch cable, and then I took my first ride on my old Shovelhead. That's
right on.
That's how I got into there.
What was your first bike, Bushcraft?
Oh man, that's going back. First one I owned or first one I rode?
Oh, you are, man.
When it was stone wheels.
First one I rode was in 1969, and it was an Indian Mini, and it belonged to my neighbor. Now, the first one I owned, I bought a CT200, which was the predecessor of the CT90. And that was in, I don't know, somewhere around 75, 76. And it had that torn down to nuts and bolts more than once. And it'd run for a while. I'd ride it. Then I'd run out of gas and run out of money. So I'd tear it down to work on something again until the harvest season came. Then I'd go through hay bales, get enough money for some gas.
Right on, dude.
What was your first Harley?
That's old school there, man.
Yeah, my first Harley was a 45 Solo. It was a 56 G motor and a Solo frame. And I got that in 1984, and rode the piss out of it, and then traded it for a basket Sportster, because back in those days, a 45 wasn't worth much. Now, yeah, I cry when I see the prices.
I would. You're probably kicking yourself in your own ass right now.
You weren't joking, Hollywood, man. I think Dan and I can kind of leave the room, put a little.
Swear to God, bro. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't even know what kind of bike he just said.
Yeah. Put a little notion, keep them talking, and just
Let's go get tacos, Carlos.
He talks my language, man. I'm sorry. You guys okay, but he talks my language.
Yeah, dude, I'm feeling young as shit right now. I tell you. I'm like, I don't even know what kind of bike he just said, dude. What kind of freaking biker am I? I got a lot of Googling to do tonight.
Yeah,
well, here's the scary thing.
If Danny wasn't using his phone for this, he'd be Googling it right now.
Yeah, so Hollywood and I are only a few years apart. We're almost the same age.
Right.
Right. So you're both almost 94, right?
Put together.
That's why I was confused about doing the math. You said 1964. I go, they were not 45. What?
Yeah.
They're all confused. In your bike, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm lost on some of this lingo, dude. I'm like, wow.
No, I told him,
I came on the show thinking I'm a humble person. I don't think I'm the shit, but I'm like, I got some knowledge here. No, I don't. I really don't. I just need to. I'm gonna shut the hell up, sir. Sorry, I spoke.
I mean, earlier. I told you today. I mean, my first time ever was in my '57 BSA Classic. We took a ride all the way from Florida to Georgia, from Clearwater to Georgia, and I took a tarp and I took the minimum that I needed, and I was freezing in rain, and I was getting, put the tarp over the bike. Luckily the little heat in the exhaust kept me a little warm for a little bit. Right. Now, and then the next trip I overpacked and I never used shit. So that was like, I tried it 2-3 times, but I did it when I was younger and it didn't. I mean, it was fun. Think about it now, like I told you, you always look back at the time. You're like, this shit sucks for the one point I was in. But then now looking back, I go, I actually had a really great time. And I wish I could do more of that.
What would you say if you're in that position, Bushcraft?
Say again, Hollywood?
What would you say if somebody found themselves in that kind of position where they were out in the middle of nowhere, didn't have the gear they were supposed to have?
Sure. So it's like everything. You deal with it. You do what you need to do without what you don't have. And so, there's nothing wrong with sleeping under an underpass. I was going down the coast one time on a trip years ago. God, it was 86, so a long time ago. And there's a desolate stretch from Monterey south, and there's only one gas station before you get down almost to Santa Barbara. And so several hundred miles. And I get down there, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I get to the gas station, they're closed. I mean, it's just a little mom and pop place. And it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and foggy, cold. And so I pulled up, got right underneath the eave of the building, right up against the building. And I just laid down on the asphalt and waited for them to open in the morning. Stayed dry, stayed out of the fog, let the bike keep me warm enough to sleep. So, you do what you have to do. And some of the best adventures I've had have been a result of not being prepared or, unexpected things happening. Mm-hmm. So,
see, I used one time I went riding and I was me and my friend, we took our bikes and that's when I was going to Chicago and it was just freezing, but there was a old gas station that was closed down. Like the ice where they put the ice, the cooler thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't working. That's where I slept. And I went inside, closed it. I was warm in there. And my friend, he thought I disappeared. And I started yelling. We didn't have our phones back then. There was no phones. And he jumped in the other side. We both slept inside the little ice thing.
Right on.
I figured it out. See, Hollywood? I figured it out. Danny would have been at the motel.
Well, you know what? I already know what you do for money. You'll go on the corner and sell mangoes.
No, but if I was in Chicago, trust me, I'd have been okay. I think I might know one or two people.
I was getting to Chicago, man. I was driving all the way from Tampa, Clearwater, all the way to Chicago, riding the bike.
What suggestion, say you are having to sleep and pull over under an underpass or something, or sleep in an abandoned church or building like Scooter Tramp Scotty does, how would you handle the law that comes to mess with you?
So, believe it or not, I've had very little problem with that. I keep, and that's one of the points I've made on a few of my videos, is I keep real low profile. You know, you got guys out there that, well, I'm camping here for the night. Yeah, I know it's a gas station parking lot, but I'm going to have a campfire and have my coffee. You just can't do that. You got to be smart about it.
Right.
You always need your coffee.
You need your coffee, but man, if there's a gas station, there's probably a Starbucks.
I got a funny story about coffee.
I'm always up for a story about coffee.
So I went camping. It's actually the first time I went camping on my bike. And by the way, I envy you because it really is the best feeling ever. I mean, I loved it. And yes, I had my blow up mattress and my tent.
And you blow up.
And you blow
What's
it down.
Your
You blow up down for an old lady.
You know, I got blow up feet. All right, I got blow up feet. I got to pack light. I got to pack light, man.
You might
I'm
have
on
told
the
me
bike.
just a little bit more than I wanted to know.
If you don't know,
You have no idea.
He has a foot fetish, man. He has a foot fetish, Bushcraft, and he likes screwing feet.
Oh my God, I don't have a foot any freaking way. So I went camping, Bushcraft, and it was me and a brother of mine. We went up north to see a brother of ours that was in the joint, and we get to the campsite or whatever, and he got there a day early. So I get there, we hung out, made steaks on the fire and everything, and we ate and we hung out, went to sleep, and I woke up. I don't know, it was like just at like 5 a.m. So the sky was just starting to get light, you know what I mean? And my throat was just, on fire. I had a sore throat from sleeping that night with the cold air and everything, and I get up and I'm like, we're at a campground. We're at a campsite. And I wake up, I walked over by the river, and all we had was a Powerade to drink. And man, let me tell you something. You wake up at 5 a.m., that's the last thing you want to drink is a freaking Powerade, And I go over to the river, and the most surreal moment for me was I'm sitting there, and literally like there's a river. We're right off the river, so there's this little river, or a creek or whatever that went through, and there's like an island in the middle of it, and it was so beautiful, man. Like, there was a couple of otters or whatever. They're swimming around and playing. There's a couple of deer prancing around. Then there's an eagle flying over all of this, and I'm like, dude, this is heaven. You know what I mean? This is God country here.
Nice.
So I watched that for a little while. Had my morning cigarette, and I'm like, dude, I need a cup of coffee. Like I'd pay $100 for a cup of coffee right now. And I'm walking, man, because it's like 5:20 in the morning at this point, And I'm like, we ain't got no coffee. I'm like, man, I'm gonna walk around a campground. Hopefully, there's somebody awake that's making coffee right now. I'm walking and I'm walking. I walk all the way by the front desk, and nobody's awake, right? So I get to the front desk and I'm like, well, they gotta have like a little thing set up here for coffee, right? Nothing. And I'm like, damn, man. So I walk back down to the campground. I'm sitting on my bike, and needless to say, I have a loud Harley, right? So I'm sitting on my bike, and I'm like, man, I would feel really bad to start my bike up right now and roll out of the campground and go get coffee, But now it's like about 5:40, and I'm dying. I gotta have coffee right now.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I start the bike up, I leave, and I try to be as quiet as I can, but I mean, there ain't no being quiet. So I pull out of there. I go up to the gas station about 3 miles down the road. I get there, and I'm having coffee with some old farmers. They're all sitting around the table having coffee on a Sunday morning. So I sit there, I have coffee with them. I'm shooting the shit with them a little bit, joking around, and everything's all cool, right? So I get on my bike. I'm heading back to the campground, and I'm pulling into the entrance, and my brother pulls up, and he's laughing when I pull up. So I make a quick U-turn, pull up next to him. I'm like, "What's up, bro?" And he's like, "Man, I was gonna go get some coffee." And I'm like, "That's what I just came from doing." And he's like, "Dude, everybody in the campground hates you, man. I don't think you can come back." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Dude," he goes, "all I heard was people cussing you out as you left." He goes, "I woke up because I heard the bike, so I came out the tent to make sure it was you taking off." He goes, "I see you leaving, and I just hear people from everywhere. MF, son of a..." They're all cussing me out, man. Dude, it was hilarious. So we went and got coffee. We come back. And we pull into the campground, and we're going back to the campsite so we can pack up and leave. And dude, everybody's just mean mugging me as I'm going through it. It was like I was like a parade of hate because I'm just doing a parade wave at them, like, "Good morning."
Bedlam's Asylum. Love all your vids, Biker Bushcraft. Man, you got a lot of people over here, Bushcraft. I want to see that again.
I'm digging it.
Right,
That really kept me going too. Is
light you up.
people that the comments people have made, they're thoughtful, they're interested, they're wanting to know things, and I mean that's really the only reason I do this is because people are interested in it. But
right.
we had, and I told this in one of my videos, so I don't mind sharing it. It relates to your story, Danny. It's me and my old lady we were going to camp for the weekend at a friend of mine's gold claim, and it was after some storms, and we're going down the road, and we missed the sign. As far as we know, the flood had washed the sign out. So next sign we see says Reno 15 miles. Like, well, shit, we missed our turn down, so we'll keep going. So we went into Reno. This is on Memorial Day weekend. And so
Ugh.
we pull into a Motel 6 at, vacancy sign, and they saw a biker and decided they didn't have any vacancies. So started looking around town, and man, there's no rooms in town anywhere. So we figure, well, okay, it's only 125 miles home. We'll just go home. So we start heading over Donner Pass, and Donner Pass is, I think it's 8,000 feet at the summit. And even on Memorial Day weekend, it's cold. And we start heading up there, and it's getting colder and colder. And I didn't have the windscreen on the bike. We weren't ready for winter weather. And the old lady didn't have real warm stuff on. So we start freezing. And we get up there at Donner Summit. We're just both ice cubes. Still, we tried Boomtown. We tried Donner. No place to stay. So we start heading down the hill, and the old lady's got her pillow that she takes everywhere she goes, stuffed inside her jacket to help keep her warm.
Right.
And I see one of those little tent signs on the side of the road. It's like, all right, we're camping. So I pull off. Pitch black, no lights, no moon, can't see anything. We go through this campground, and I found an empty spot. We got up there. It took her about 30 seconds to start a fire. She's better at starting fires than I am. But I got the tent up, and she got the fire going, and we're all toasty and warm and crash out. Wake up in the morning, most beautiful campsite I've ever been in my life. I mean, we were surrounded by these giant boulders, and on the other side of it, it was this river, and it's just absolutely unbelievable.
Nice.
And it was just, we needed to stop, so we stopped, and it turned into a story that we remember 25 years later.
Right.
So,
that's how all good things happen, man.
How did your old lady take it the first time you said, okay, let's pack up the bike, we're going camping?
Oh, you'll love this. So first of all, she likes camping more than I do, but we loaded up, and this was, I guess we'd been together for 4 months, and I had my old 79 shovel. And so we took off to go to the Yuma prison run, and it's about 750 miles one way from where we were. So we take off down there. We stop in Beverly Hills and visit one of her relatives, stay the night there, and then ride the rest of the way down. We're going to camp there. She's all good with it. And so we get down there, and I get heat stroke. We ended up for 2 days in a hotel, 2 nights in a hotel, with me just sicker than a dog and not sure if I was going to ride home. And I finally got to a point where I could ride again. And so we took off out of there, didn't do any camping. And so we started heading home. And she's got another friend that from high school that she says, well, we'll stop at her place and stay there on the way up. Well, her friend wasn't there. So this is her first long bike trip. We're leaving Yuma. We've got 750 miles to home and no stop in between on a Shovelhead.
Oh, jeez. Good luck with that.
Hey, she still rides with me.
I was gonna say, hold on a sec. I want to see if I can share this. Let's see if I can share. You see this, Danny?
No, I don't see nothing.
I was trying to show you because he said the 79 shovel, so I was trying to show you the comparison what what 79 shovel is compared to a real shovel, in case you needed to know.
Just so you needed to know, Danny.
Oh, here it is.
Wow. Wow.
There it is. Hold
You
on.
know what? You almost kind of insulted me with that one there, guy. Yeah.
These
Take one of
here-
those shovels and you know what you can do with it, right?
Hey, you know what?
Put yourself right in the noggin over it.
I had a love-hate with my Shovelhead, and
Me too.
my first one. So my first one was a 72, and the guy I bought it from had just had the engine rebuilt. It went through roughly 5 gallons of oil on the first run I took it on after I bought it. We took it back to the guy that rebuilt it. He forgot to put one of the keepers in the wrist pin, so he fixed that. And it blew up again somewhere not too far down the road, and it kept blowing up. Finally, in 1990, I busted my hand at work, and I was off work for a few weeks. And I was so sick of that damn Shovelhead because the transmission, the engine, everything, just constant pain in the ass. You know, with the Shovelhead, when you go on a run, the day before you spend working on the bike. Then when you get to the run, you work on the bike.
You work on the bike
fix
again,
all the shit that fell off. Then before you leave the run, you work on the bike. Then when you get home, you don't look at it.
And depending on how long the run is, you might have to pull over and work on the bike. Yeah.
But
I know.
I got sick of it. So, you know, I got my right hand in a cast, and I'm thinking, well, shit, I can use my hand okay. So I went down, talked to Corey Ness at Arlen Ness, and picked up a crate motor, Evo motor, and picked up a Santee frame. And I claim credit for building the first Road King. In 1990, I went down there, and it looked like a 73 because I'd already switched the swing arm, so got rid of the juice brake, put a disc rear on it. And so it looked like a bone stock 73 FLH, except it had an Evo motor in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I killed my Shovelhead.
Do you think the Evo motor Bushcraft was the best Harley came out with?
Yes.
It's good. It's good. It probably, you know, as a blank canvas, it's probably the best blank canvas because you can get a lot of power out of it. It's reliable, you know, but there's a lot you can do with the Shovelhead, and as much as they're a pain in the ass. Oh, sorry. That was, I guess, my Siri. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway,
Siri said ass?
Siri doesn't understand.
Well, we're trying to walk Danny through the type of motorcycles now. We got to get him educated now.
You know what? I swear to God, you better not start that shit with me.
I've been making a PowerPoint here, Danny, for you. I've been
my 82 Shovelhead, man. Like I said, it was my first Harley.
Oh,
I mean, it wasn't my first bike, but it was my first Harley. And like I said, I put it together. And the one thing I didn't know anything about was the wiring. You know, I had no idea about wiring. So I had these two drunk friggin' idiots that said, oh, dude, we can wire that Shovelhead for you, no problem. They're old bikers, you know. So they come over to my house and they start wiring my bike for me. And so in the middle of wiring it or whatever, I forget what happened. Something happened. And I call a good brother of mine, Red, who is a mechanic guru.
Yeah,
and yeah, Hollywood knows him very well too. So I call him up and I'm like, hey, bro, I'm like, you know, I got all these wires and I'm hooking them all up, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this neutral wire. And he's like, the what? And I'm like, a neutral wire. And he's like, what are you working on a house? And I'm like, well, these guys gave me all this wiring schematics. I'm like, there's a neutral wire in it. And he goes, dude, you're not building a house, you're building a bike. So, dude, my wiring was never right on this bike. I had that Shovelhead for about 3 years. It never charged. I'd have to charge it in the middle of the road. I had, you know, my key was actually, so I used a fucking, I used a tractor ignition, and it only
be special.
Yeah, so it only worked for a short time, and then all it was a switch to turn everything on and off. It didn't start, right? So, and my button didn't work either. So for about 2 years, how I started at Shovelhead was a 1/2 inch deep well socket. I would put that on the solenoid and jump it. And
Hey,
you know what?
Carlos,
That's how
BD
I
wants
rode
to
that
come
bike
in.
for 2 years, man. It was hilarious.
What happened?
Send BD a link. He wants to talk with Bushcraft.
No.
You know what? No, he's on
He's all
timeout.
hard.
I agree with Carlos completely.
Hey, man, I got all night.
Okay.
BD had enough. BD had enough on his show.
Oh,
What
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
you'll send BD a link, but you sure the hell didn't send me one.
what kind of a Bushcraft? What kind of
Mm.
case
I
was
said
it?
it
Was
to
it
your OnlyFans.
Evo, Ironhead?
I'm sorry. Say again.
Your basket case sporty, was it an Evo or an Ironhead?
Oh, Ironheads.
Ironhead?
I've never owned an Evo Sporty, and I've never owned a Knucklehead. I've owned everything else since the VL.
Could you
God,
imagine?
I would love a knucklehead.
I know S&S does it, but if Harley Davidson maybe did a limited run of a knuckle or a pan, you know how fast they sell out of them bikes
Oh,
with modern technology.
Dude,
on it?
Yeah.
I'd sell myself to get a knucklehead. I really would.
Well,
If they did that.
I know a guy.
Yeah, nobody's gonna buy nothing, but I mean, I'd try.
They'll
No,
sell.
I of all the bikes I've had, I miss my panhead. I actually miss that 45. It wasn't fast, but it was the best dirt bike I ever owned.
Right.
And I actually really miss my 79 shovel. I built it. It was fast, and as many problems as it had, it was.
I was typing already
it was
for you,
good
Danny. I was trying to. I'm keeping a PowerPoint. I'm telling you. Each time I hear them,
You didn't know it was dirt, Danny?
What's that?
Nothing. Don't forget it. Go ahead.
I had no
Go-
idea what a 45 is, and I still don't.
Go watch a World War II movie. You'll
Okay.
see hundreds of them.
Oh, you're talking about you talking about a 45 Harley, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
flathead.
okay. Well, see, all you had to do was tell a flathead. Okay, I'll see a flathead. I know. Never mind, Carlos. Stand down, Carlos. Stand down.
Okay. I typed all that freaking essay for no reason.
For no reason. Not now. I'm good. I got this.
He's acting like he knows what you're talking about, Bushcraft. He's still lost.
I know exactly what a flathead is. I've worked on every Harley except for a knucklehead. I've never worked on a knucklehead.
Yeah,
I bet you wish you never
It ain't
got
no
rid
different
of
than anything else. So, huh?
I bet you wish you never got rid of it, Bushcraft, your panhead.
Oh man, I do. It was a 53. It was in a straight leg frame.
Nice.
And it was a long bike. I don't even know how long the Springer was on that, but yeah, I rode the hell out of that bike, and I damn well wish I had never sold it.
You know what's funny? Everybody always upset, man, dude, don't you regret selling your first Harley? And that was my Shovelhead. And I'm like, I absolutely do not regret selling that freaking thing. The last time I saw it, so I was at there's a place called Bargain Barn. It's in Edgerton, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
And yeah, and me and my
it ain't a bargain barn, just to let you know.
No, it sure the hell ain't. Yeah, you've obviously been there recently. Freaking Ryan's gone nuts over there. So I go in there, and I was with my brother Red again, and we're in there, searching through the bins, looking at parts and stuff. And I come across the old gas tank, and I knew for a fact, because it had a certain marking on it, it was my old gas tank to my old Shovelhead. So I don't know if this thing got parted out after I got rid of it, or maybe it crashed, or maybe he rebuilt it. I don't know. And I saw that gas tank, and he's like, you miss that old girl, don't you? And I'm like, no, you have no idea how much I'm going to throw that gas tank across the freaking room right now. I'm like, I loved riding a Harley, but I hated that bike. Hated it.
Yeah, the only one that I was glad to see go is I had a 78 FX, and it was wore out when I got it. It was cherry looking. It was wore out when I got it. I sold it for too little, and it would be a great platform to build something from right now, but that's about all it would be good for in my mind.
Well, you talked about some of the oldest stuff, Bushcraft.
Yeah, build something from right now, but that's about all it would be good for.
Hey, Speedy, turn it muted. Hold this stuff.
Is Speedy doing a damn intro?
This guy comes out here and he's playing his commercial. Are you freaking kidding me? Boy, aren't you full of yourself? You've been hanging out with somebody else we all know, haven't you?
Here, I'll do
So,
this.
Bushcraft, you were talking about in the day that. Oh, yeah, question here. The kids nowadays are used to Harleys being astronomically expensive. Tell us about the Harleys in the late 70s, early 80s, their price point.
So in 84, I walked into an aftermarket shop, an independent shop. And the guy, I had my 45 at that point. I wanted a big twin. And I told him I wanted, I was looking for a Shovelhead. I told him what I wanted. And he says, I'll tell you what, you give me $5,000, I'll build you anything you want. That's what Harleys cost.
Man, I wish I could find that guy now.
How much did it cost?
$5,000 to build whatever he wanted.
Yep. That was 1984. And
nice.
That's when the Hugger came out. It was $39.99.
That's only $13,000 with inflation now. That's cheap as shit.
Hell yeah.
Well, how did I know that's what you were doing?
I like verifying all the information.
I knew you were too. I was like, he's typing it all out right now. I know he is.
Well, we got Black Dragon on the show right now, and he wanted to come say hi to Bushcraft.
Hey, Dragon.
Hey, how you doing?
The legend.
Good, man.
I was making sure your audio is working.
Yeah.
He has gremlins everywhere he goes, Bushcraft.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Apologize about that.
All good.
Well, get to your questions, man. I don't sit there.
We got a good
yeah. This show's a little more peppier, dude. We ain't got time for all that him and Han and stuff, okay?
Yeah, I see. You're talking on this show. Wow, Danny. I didn't even know you.
No, you know what? I actually have a fucking chance to talk. Well, my bad. Didn't mean to swear.
All right, let's get back to this. Come on.
Absolutely.
Bushcraft is giving us his time.
Bushcraft, I mean, it's just awesome to just like, talk to somebody that, actually, does biking, is a biker. We don't, we don't always get, we talk to a lot of clubbers, not bikers. So do you still, you still just like hang out on the side of the road and camp out and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything different. I mean, that's the truth of it.
That's an old school answer right there.
Right there, man.
No, nothing different.
I love it.
Right on.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going to give a quick shout out to a couple of guys that I know are on here. My buddy Len, who's actually in Florida, and also my buddy Mark, who goes back 35 years with me. But those guys, so Mark has actually been on one of my videos. He's the one that was riding the dirt bike on the one video. We went out and camped by the river. And the dirt bike's kind of his around the trails around home, but we decided to go ahead and put that on there just for kicks. And my buddy Len has done some miles in the rain with me. We've both had to wring our leathers out at the other end more than once. So
we got to get them on the next time, man. We got to have the boys on here. The dirt boys.
Right? Yeah.
This is my kind of stuff, BD. Yeah. This is what motorcycling's all about right here.
Yeah. So
me and Carlos are going to do our own show. We're gonna talk about his M8.
I hear they're decent. I haven't ridden an M8, but when I was looking for that CVO, I had a dealer get my name, actually two of them, and they were relentless trying to get me to buy an M8, telling me all about how great it was. I don't know about M8s.
You know what? I can't stand them because they don't sound. I mean, we all know Harleys haven't sounded like Harleys in a long time, but But the M8s to me, it's like I just hear a Yamaha start every time. I just.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I rode a couple of my brother's bikes, and they definitely worked on the vibration part. Like, it is almost like riding a Jap bike, to be bluntly honest.
Yeah.
Like, the vibrations ain't there, like like they used to be. And
Right.
I run a stroker motor at my Harley, so needless to say, I shake, rattle, and roll all. When I'm going slow, I don't see anything. Everything's jello. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Man,
so
you know
that
what?
was nice.
That's what your woman said the other night. No, go ahead. Like no shake, rattle, and roll. I hear.
No, it's just all jello.
Wow, man. Wow. Like right for the
Yeah.
juggler all the time with you.
Well, it's funny because
That's my boy Danny.
yeah, I remember solid mount motors, and I remember when they said, "Oh yeah, it's it's rubber mount," and that's Danny. Yours was, I think, one of the first rubber mounts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had,
Yeah,
the
82 was the first
FLT.
one.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's smoother, accepted idle, but all right. And then when the guy's talking to me about the M8, he says, "Yeah, you don't get all shaken up. We don't have that rubber mount anymore." Like, wait a minute, I remember when
Right.
selling the rubber mount.
Yeah, they finally learned how to balance things and stuff.
Right.
Well,
To me, I mean, without that vibration, man, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't feel like a Harley, and it doesn't sound like one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great ride. Don't get me wrong. Like, it is a lot more comfortable. I mean, the less vibrations, I would assume that can at least allow you to ride a lot longer before you got to get off. Without the vibrations and stuff. But I mean, hey, man, I'm a Harley guy, man. I like that vibration. I like the
He didn't
noise
know
and
what a
stuff.
45 was, but go ahead, BD.
Hey man, he didn't say 45 flat. All he had to say was a flathead, bro. That's all he had to say. I didn't know if he was talking about a Harley or a Honda or I don't know. Damn.
It's
Hey,
all
BD,
good,
they
man.
making fun of me, man.
Was horrible.
Hey,
They
half the
making
time people
they
don't know what
making
I'm
fun
talking
of me,
about.
man.
It's all good.
That's all good, man.
Go ahead, BD. Get you a couple questions in for Bushcraft.
So, one of my worst, I just want to get into the bushcraft of the bush.
Sure.
I want to get into the bush out on the road. One of my
You sure ain't getting any right now, it seems like that.
I was just thinking.
You guys are just walking into
I thought Danny was the target. What the hell?
Oh shit!
Anyway, BD,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'd like to get to the bush. So not getting to any other bush, obviously.
Hey, your throat didn't close, did it?
No. So one of my, scariest nights out was when I was surrounded by a pack of coyotes, and they wanted to eat my dog. And then, a couple times I thought I'd seen ghosts or something. Like, you've been out there. Don't laugh. You don't believe in ghosts?
No,
one's going to come get your ass tonight. Watch. But what's the scariest, or what's the weirdest story you have? Scariest story? What tell me something that was just out there.
Usually, by the time that I'm ready to set up camp, I'm so wiped out. I got nothing on mind except for food and sleep. So I don't have a whole lot of time to worry about it. But I've had a couple, because we've got black bears up here, and there's one campsite that I went to, and I hung all my food up and everything, so I wasn't too worried about it. And it was such a nice campsite. I thought, well, hell, I'll bring the old lady down here next week. So I brought her down the next weekend. She spent all night up. And of course, the temperature dropped from in the high 60s down to the low 30s over that week. So she's out there by the fire, tending the fire, freezing her ass off. And she's all night hearing the bears walking around in the woods all around the campsite.
Oh, wow.
And so she was pretty freaked about that. Myself, what I worry about more than anything else, because some of the places I camp are, it's not where people would expect you to camp. I worry about me and the bike getting run over. So I try real hard to place myself, up against a building or, between trees, somewhere where it's going to be hard for a vehicle to accidentally run over me. And I've been pretty lucky so far. I haven't encountered anything, but that's always in the back of my mind. That's that thing I worry about.
Mhm.
Wow.
BB, he's got a preppers channel. How could you put bushcrafting and prepping together in one bushcraft?
Well, it's great that you asked that, because I get people all the time that think my channel's a prepper channel, and it's not. I'm just, the way I approach things is using the same logic that you'd use prepping, and that is figure out how to make everything that you have count. Use what you have, and if you don't have something, figure out how to go on without whatever that thing is you don't have. So, what I'm doing isn't really meant to be prepper, but it uses some of the same techniques, same logic, and the same mindset. When you're on the road, you guys ride, you're always looking, you're always thinking, you're always being aware of everything that's going on around you. You're hyper aware of that.
Yep.
And it's the same thing when you stop as when you're going. So, that's as far as what's different about it,
Do you carry anything for like protection?
common sense.
Very good.
Right.
And that's all I'll tell you.
Well,
Damn good
Right.
answer right there, man. That's old school right there. Hell
I'm
yeah.
loaded to the teeth out there. I ain't playing, so keeping it real.
How hard were you bushcraft to get back on the saddle after you went down?
Not hard at all for me. My attitude over the whole thing was, I went for over 40 years of riding without anything major. I had some pretty good crashes, but nothing major. And so it was my time. Crash, get over it, get on the bike. So
Right.
basically, as soon as the doctor said I could get down to only one crutch, I was riding.
Hell yeah.
So,
Are you for or against helmets?
and it's funny that you asked that, because I thought about that question yesterday. So everybody's got their own opinion, and here's mine. Before there was a helmet law in California, I never wore a helmet. I put one on the day that the law went into effect. I fought like hell to stop it. But since then, I've rode through states that don't require a helmet, and I didn't take my helmet off, partly because it was inconvenient to stow it, and partly because why, it's there. If you want to wear a helmet, wear a helmet. If you're going to hit the ground, probably better to be wearing one. But, the only times my head ever hit the ground are when I had a helmet on. And I've hit the ground quite a few times. The only way that you can figure out what your limits are is to pass them. So I've been down a few times in my life, and I guess, like they always say, if you could plan when you're going to go down, then you'd probably make sure you were wearing a helmet. But
Right.
yeah, and like Mike Moreland just commented on there, I'm right, and same thing with Angry Boomer. I'm right with you guys, man. It's your choice. Whatever you want to do. My oldest son rides, and quite frankly, I think he's a better rider than I am, but he's crazier than I am. And
Younger kids usually are now bushcraft. They'd ride better than we ever could.
he's something else, but he's, I'd never tell him to slow down. It's up to him. I hope he lives through it. So far, he's lived through most of the bad accidents. So
Praise God right there.
Yeah.
Hey, BD, man, what's going on with you? You ain't talking.
I was asking a question. You jumped on me. Do you find that your riding skills are diminishing? And if so, how are you dealing with the age and your riding skills?
You're older than him, right?
I don't know, but no, I'll tell you this, man. This is a very hard thing to say, and the answer to that is yes. I can tell you right now, I mean, it was nothing for me to spend a day with basically having to stop every 120 miles for gas because that's the kind of mileage I got running 130 miles an hour. I've run Highway 50 across the country and, slowed down only for gas stations. Now, I like 90 a little better. And as far as what I can do now, I've got some lingering effects with my leg, and that I also have some balance things that have gone on over the last few years, and that's impacted it. And so I'm more careful than I was because of that. I have to be, but I still ride in packs, and I still ride the places I do. I still take my bikes off road. I just think about it a little bit more ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are lucky. My mic was been off, and I was talking to a lot of you couldn't hear me. I finally got it on and going working.
I thought you were just making arrangements for more oranges to sell on the corner, but hey, go for it.
No, it's mangoes.
Wow.
It's mangoes.
So what is your everyday carry knife when you're out there? What's the best knife that you like to have with you?
I love my Mora Black.
A sharp
Just
one.
Every knife I have is sharp. I am a
He's
knife
getting
guy.
the old school answers.
Yeah, I am a knife guy, and that's been my thing. And I am a firm believer that knives are tools. And I can guarantee you, if somebody asks me if I have a weapon and I got a knife on my side, I'm going to say no, because it is a tool. I spent some time doing professional rigging. I've got a rigging knife that I regularly have on me because it is a tool that I use for my trade. As a part of bushcraft, yes, I have a knife. That is so that I can cut food, so that I can set up camp, so that I can do the things that I need to do. And that's it. But that Mora Black, for cost, quality, it's great. I mean, it's a $50, $60 knife. And
What kind of knife did you say it was?
It's Mora knives. So MORAKNIV. And they're a really good company. Their knives are super cheap. You get them on Amazon. They've got one model that's like $11. And you can just abuse the hell out of that thing, and it's razor sharp.
Have you heard of Top Knives?
No, I'm not sure I have.
Awesome knives. They're not the cheapest knives. I mean, they could be about 150 or so, but they have about 100 knives in for any situation you can look at, from bushcrafting to. They have them. I just had a 50% off deal, so then I bought like one or two of them. But that's
cool.
Yeah,
I still use my buck 110, man. I still have it.
Yeah,
I've got a big ass buck knife. I don't know the name of it though, but a brother of mine gave it to me, and I swear that thing, it's still. I've had it for about 4 years now, and I can still shave with it. It just has stayed sharp.
That just means you haven't used it. That's all.
I was gonna say that, BD, but I've been at it with Danny all day. And I can't.
Well, I feel like nobody like me no more.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, like this if we didn't love you.
Yeah, I've had
right.
Knives. I've had.
I guess I'm in the crew now.
But,
go ahead.
Yeah. So my thing is, a lot of people like folders. I don't. I like fixed blades.
Right.
Most of the places that I go, and in California, as long as it's visible, you can carry it. You can carry a sword if you want. But I collect knives. I got a pretty good selection of them. But just for everyday carry, just the simple Mora, it's got I think it's a 4.5-inch blade. It's not huge, but it does everything I want it to do. And, I've had gravity knives. I've had all kinds of shit, and they just don't get used. I mean, those aren't knives that are designed to be worked. Mm-hmm. A double edge isn't going to do you anything except in a fight. And if you're bringing a knife to a fight these days, you're dumb. So the reality is it's a tool. And so you need something that's utilitarian, at least in my opinion.
Right.
So
yeah, my blade's about 13 inches, I think, 12, 13 inches. It's a big boy.
Sure.
Yeah, overcompensate for something else.
I'm talking about the knife. You assholes.
I thought. gonna say I'm swinging 13, 14 myself. We're talking yards.
Hey, listen. We all white people around here, all right?
Oh,
Don't be bringing that black mess around here.
Just try to keep hope alive. That's all we have. So, what's it like living in
man.
California with all these gun laws? How the hell do you get around that?
You don't. Again, common sense. You do.
Brady
you know,
has no common sense.
no, you gotta play by the rules. It's all a game, so you got to play by the rules and figure out how to make the rules work for you.
Yeah.
Have you
No. No.
have you ever been down to Mexico on a travel?
Hey, this is a public forum. I'm saying you play by the rules.
I hear you. I got you.
Great answers, though. Great answers.
Yeah.
So, what's your next big thing that you want to? I know you want to do like start any big adventures that you would like to do or get back into full-time bushcrafting. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, so I can say that getting back into doing it full time, which is where I was in 2018, won't happen. Life took a path that doesn't make that practical for me. But that said, the big trip that I wanted to take, and I haven't been up there in years, but right before the accident, my plan was to ride up to Fairbanks, because see, I had this rule about shirts. I go to the dealer, I get them myself. I don't order them. I've had a couple that friends have given me, and I cherish those, but I don't go order Harley shirts online. So my Fairbanks Harley shirt wore out, and so I need a new one. So I want to ride out there and get it.
Right on. I ordered one Harley shirt. It's from Germany, and that's because I'm not allowed to leave the country. So I think I'm okay on that one.
A shirt from Germany never mind. So a question.
What you gotta say, bro?
Just saying, you could have ordered a Harley shirt from Africa, and why
Yeah.
Germany?
All right, but
For real, bro. For real. You gonna come at me about people like that, dog? Come on, man. I'm the blackest white guy you know right now.
I just said. I mean, I'm sorry. Listen, bushcrafting.
GD comes on. There's now all these black and white. What the hell?
Hey,
Right.
hey.
He's over
That's
here.
all it takes. You allow one in, and boom.
Yeah, we ride.
Hey, BD, do you have another question? We're going to be wrapping up right now.
Yeah, I want to know about this bushcrafting thing. So,
Sure.
It's called Wikipedia.
Bushcrafting as a bushcrafting as a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing that kind of full time. So
You got to get those curly hairs out of your throat, man.
as I'm
Look.
looking
I
at
was
it,
literally just going to say that. Damn
as I'm looking at it, it says it's the use and the practice of skills, thereby acquiring and developing knowledge and understanding in order to survive and thrive in a natural environment.
Right.
And so you do that from a motorcycle? Am I understanding?
That's exactly right. So
Welcome to the show.
no, that's actually a great question, because I've had a few people ask the question, where's the bushcraft? And I said in my very first video, look, some people may say this is bushcraft, some may not. Some may just say it's camping. Here's my deal: is I get on the bike and I go places, and when I need to lay down somewhere, I need to be comfortable. So I bring what I need to be comfortable. Now I can't pull a motorhome behind me. Well, that's another story. But I used to pull a teardrop trailer behind the bike. But like I said, that's another story. But it's being able to go out there, and the places I go, I'm not going from city to city. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and so if I'm going to take a trip over to Nevada, or go down to Vegas, I'm going to go the back way. I'm going to be up in the mountains and on the back roads or out in the desert. And if I'm not going to do that in one shot, then I'm going to need to be able to pull over somewhere and have a comfortable night's sleep. So figuring out what to do in that situation, if I'm in the desert or if I'm in the woods, what do I do in that situation so that I can have a comfortable night's sleep, cook my meal, and move on?
Do you hunt out there, capture your food, or do you take it with you, or are you eating vegetables and stuff that you find out there?
So I don't do a lot of gathering because I can't remember the word. I'm drawing a blank. Sorry, guys. Anyway, but I mean,
BD shoots blanks, so you're good.
So generally, I bring my food. Okay, but I bring raw ingredients.
That shot was loaded.
Yeah. So I bring raw ingredients. I'm not much of a fisherman, but I do have a fishing pole. I probably wouldn't starve, but if I had to feed my family with it, I'd be in trouble. But aside from that, I'm not going to be. I can clean a rabbit, but it's definitely not something that I'd want to do on a road trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you ever stay in hotels, or is that just out?
I do, and it's a break. It depends on the trip. When we went out to New Mexico a few weeks ago or a few months ago, we had a timeline. So it's like, all right, we'll stay in the hotel on the way there. We had a hotel there. We stayed on a hotel back. We didn't camp. It was all about get there, get back. When I've got the luxury of time, absolutely, I want to stay on the hotel. And it's definitely something that I would rather camp out, but you got to look at time. Thank you, foraging. I don't know why I couldn't remember the word. And I don't do roadkill. Sorry, not my thing. But yeah, that's
Chuck E. Cheese does that, but we won't talk about him. Do you drink water? Do you drink water from streams and puddles, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's I look to camp near a water source if I can, and I've got a water filter. But generally, what I'll do is I'll just boil the water, and if I need to, strain it through a coffee filter, and that's good enough. I bring a pretty good amount of water with me too. I've got a couple of Turo Pack 1.5 gallon or 1.1, something like that, gallon bags that I strap in the saddlebags.
So
I was BD, I was going to try to get to some final thoughts already because we're
hold on 1 second. I'm not quite done. Hold on a second.
1 second. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you this. Just tell me what it's like when you're out there on that motorcycle or laying next to that motorcycle and you're looking at that starry night and you see those shooting stars go by. What's that like in terms of your bushcrafting life?
Nothing better. I mean, I do that a lot of nights. I don't sleep much, and it's not because I ain't comfortable. It's because I'm just sitting there looking at the stars all night. So, yeah.
Rock on.
Thank you.
We're going to be closing it down, but I want to, BD, I would love to have Bushcraft on an interview with yourself and me. I got so many other questions about motorcycling, about the camp, and about the everything that I want to go over because he's a gray beard. I like
BD,
this kind
of. I mean, not BD. Danny, we're kicked out.
I'm okay with that. I've been sitting in this chair for 3 hours, man.
BD's start asking questions again. Here we go.
Well, I'll like to do that with you, Bushcraft. I'll email you, have you on one of our main shows, and really get into the meat, as you will, about how you got over your accident.
Yes.
Sure.
All kinds of stuff about motorcycling that a lot of the younger generation don't hear.
Oh, that's true.
That'd be my pleasure.
Very cool.
All right, guys. So
I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, you guys can find them on Biker Bushcraft. Literally, if you just type in Biker Bushcraft, you just pop up to the top. I don't think anything else. It's pretty easy to find you. So go check out also Biker Bushcraft, Danny Delo's channel, Black Dragon, of course, Insane Throttle, Wild on Twos. thank you thank you everybody for staying tuned. I know it's a long night, so for a lot of us, do appreciate it. Once again, till next week, much love and respect.